How did you react to limited overs cricket when it first came in?
It was quite strange when I first played my limited over match. I was playing for Worcester at the time, and playing for Worcester, which was not quite the same as one-day internationals, it felt as if it was just a fun game. It never actually felt like real cricket. It felt like we were playing something like a benefit match or a fun game, which you didn't have to graft, you just had to go and hit out. And as a bowler, anything could happen anywhere. You could be hit on a good length ball, and you'd get wickets on long hops. So it was not quite cricket, but it was fun. I think it started I'm talking about 1971, 72. I think it started off like that. But then suddenly, because there was more money into cricket, because sponsorship came into one-day cricket rather than three-day cricket, and there seemed to be more money, suddenly it just got more and more professional. And in the end, I mean, it just became so scientific, like it is played now.
But wouldn't you say in that sense that one-day cricket in fact went on to save Test cricket?
It certainly did, because it brought the crowds in. I remember playing three-day matches in England. I mean, this is where I first came across one-day cricket. And in three-day matches, you found hardly any people watching, and and it was quite dull, especially county cricket. I think it's quite dull the way it's played. And one-day cricket, there would be a result. The people started flocking in on a Sunday afternoon 40-over match. You suddenly found packed house. And automatically, of course, cricketers are entertainers, and they react to crowds. So suddenly, more interest developed in it.
So you in fact would be thankful to sponsors for sponsoring this one-day phenomena?
I think so, because, I don't know the way it was heading. I felt that without one-day cricket, cricket would not have had enough money.
Yes. Now, when you go into a one-day match, do you go in with any special thoughts about bowling as opposed to when you play a test match?
Yes, it's completely different. I mean, a one-day match, when I go into bowl, my whole attitude is totally different to a test match. I'm trying to restrict runs. My idea is that the team, the opposing team doesn't go off to a flying start, because the more I restrict them in the opening overs, the easier it becomes for the other bowlers to maintain the pressure. Whereas in a test match, the whole idea is runs don't matter that much. The idea is to get wickets.
So what do you do? Would you prefer to, when you win the toss, to bat first or to field first?
Ideally, I would always like to bat first.
You prefer to bat first?
But if the wicket has anything in the morning, like, it's for a start, most of one-day matches have such an early start that there's always more moisture then than it is later on. So therefore, if we've got a better pace attack, my idea is to utilize that moisture and get maybe 2-3 wickets early on. And also the opening overs, there are not many runs scored because of movement perhaps. But if the conditions are good for batting, I would always prefer to bat.
And where does a bowler like Abdul Qadir fit into the scheme of your thought in limited overs cricket?
I think he's, as far as a one-day cricketer, I know in India he hasn't been that successful, but even then in one-day matches he's done well for us, because there was a match we were playing in Nagpur where we needed wickets because we had scored so many runs. We got 280 runs, and we realized that we had to get wickets. And Qadir then became the ideal bowler for us, because we could experiment with him. He flighted the ball, he got hit for runs, but at the same time he got 3 valuable top wickets. So wickets are important in one-day matches, and he does the job. But against other countries, the teams who can't read him and who play him much, I mean, Indians played him by far the best ever I've seen. But I think other countries like England, Australia, even Sri Lankans, West Indians, they all struggle against him. So when he comes in the middle, when they're supposed to be accelerating, and he puts the brakes on or he gets a wicket, he is just the best bowler for us. And his record shows it.
Yes, it does. And he's also a very useful fielder and a pretty good bat also.
Yes, especially against spin bowling.
Yes. Now, you joined Kerry Packer. What did you feel his contribution to cricket was?
Well, Kerry Packer was the first man to realize that one-day cricket was the money spinner. And he then proceeded to uh, uh, maximize the coverage of one-day cricket and capitalize on on selling the game, and really he's the man responsible for making one-day cricket so popular.
Yes, giving it all the television coverage and from all angles.
Maximum
and
exposure. He also sold the game. Of course, he brought colored clothing, which was more of a spectacle for the people. Then night cricket came in. And I mean, I saw the transformation because I was one of the first signees of Kerry Packer. And I saw the change when we started playing these super tests, when there were about 1,000 or 2,000 people watching some of the best players in the world playing. And suddenly, when the one-day games came up, the stadiums were transformed. They were packed, they couldn't find a place to sit. And it was just remarkable how one-day cricket took over.
Do you feel at all nervous, or are you superstitious before any game or anything?
I'm not superstitious, except once there's this friend of mine in Sharjah. We were having dinner at her house and she knew nothing about cricket. And she suddenly told me that she had a feeling, and of course it was a match against the match in Sharjah, which is Pakistan v India. And she had predicted a couple of times, she knew nothing about cricket, and she said Pakistan would win, and we won, and once she said we'd lose, and we lost. And suddenly before this match she said that India would win. And you know, I mean, I'm not superstitious at all, I don't believe in this. And then as India went off to a great start with Sunil and Srikanth, and they were in trouble early on, they played and missed, and then they just got away. And suddenly it struck me that maybe she's right, and it was the only time I actually thought, you know, we weren't going to win the match because this woman had, she just knew it. And it's the only time it's happened, and I'm fortunately we won the match, and that was the match Javed won by the 6. And since then I've refused ever to listen to anyone before a match because it actually changed my attitude.
Yes, sir.
But normally I'm not superstitious, and I do get, of course, tense before a match depending on how important it is. But it's usually, if it's a test match, it's just the first night. After that I relax. And one-day match, of course, if it's a final or something, I do get tense.
You must have had many occasions when you worked or bowled to a plan and been successful. This obviously is one of the most happy moments for a bowler. Perhaps you could give us one or two illustrations.
Yes, it happened recently. In fact, the last time we played in Sharjah, I realized that the wicket was, apart from the first few overs in the morning when because of moisture and the early start, the ball moved around, it became a batsman's paradise. And in the previous match we'd played against India, which was the one Javed won with a 6, Sunil Gavaskar had played the most important innings, although Srikanth played faster than him, but Sunil actually just kept one end ticking over, and he just kept going. And so even if we got a wicket from the other end, the one end kept going, and he played the most important innings as far as we were concerned. So in the last match, I decided that had I won the toss, I would really try and go all out to get his wicket. And you know, I really practiced beforehand in the morning with a new ball, trying to perfect the in-swinger. And I knew that it had to be in the first 2 overs. Unfortunately, it was the first over where I bowled the perfect in-swinger and I got him. And that, of course, is very satisfying.
This was the time when you got many wickets for very few runs. And in fact, Pakistan went on to lose the match. Is that the one?
No, this was the last one.
This was the last year.
This was the one we won. We almost lost at one stage because Maninder Singh got 4 wickets, and then Manzoorullah saved us. But we actually had India 3 down for nothing. And we bowled them out for 140 on a very good batting wicket.
Right, yes. Now, you just had a very successful series against India. What do you think of the World Cup in '87 being organized by 2 countries, that is India and Pakistan? What do you think of the principle?
I think I would really like to see how it goes. I mean, I'm curious myself how it's going to go. You know, this sort of thing has never been done before. In England it has been very successful, the World Cup as it's played there. I see no reason why it shouldn't do well and why it shouldn't be a success. The only hesitation I have is that on certain grounds in Pakistan and India, the crowds, for some reason, get overexcited and they start hurling objects at the players. That's my only reservation, because, you know, okay, we came here and we're quite willing to take all this, the missiles thrown at us, because, you know, the whole idea is to foster good relationship between the two countries, and it's important that, you know, that we had good public relations with the crowd too. So we used to take the beating, but I think that the foreign teams might not, because no one is going to risk a player getting injured with a big stone. And if it continues, I think that could be the only problem we would have.
And this would, of course, also waste time, which would be very vital
especially with the fines. I think the other, of course, problem is going to be the movement behind the side screens. It happens in Pakistan and India much more than elsewhere. And with the heavy fines which are going to be imposed, I think that also could be, I don't know what's going to happen if we have too many interruptions.
Tell me, could you name one or two of the great batsmen you bowled to in limited overs cricket?
Sunil Gavaskar would be one of the better ones, not because he would take me apart, but because in the context of one-day match, he is so useful. If you've got batsmen like Srikanth at the other end, and, you know, stroke players like India has got coming in, he plays a very important role. I would say, of course, Viv Richards stands out because he, in one-day cricket, can easily demolish a bowling attack, as he just recently did in New Zealand. Gordon Greenidge, as I also rate very highly.
Now, you come into the World Cup with a lot of confidence behind you. You rate your chances fairly high, I assume. The 87 World Cup.
I do, because this present series has given us a lot of confidence. Our strength lies in the all-round ability of our team. I think we still lack, we are not sure really about our opening and our number 3 position. We've got Ramiz, who's a certainty. Ijaz, I was so happy, played so well in the last 2 matches, and we're going to persevere with him. We still are not sure about one more position there, and you know, with quicker bowlers coming in, we might have a little bit of problems there. But after number 4, Javed downwards, our team has stabilized a lot, and in fact, a lot of matches have been won because of our lower order. And we've got a nice blend of big hitters there and people who've now got experience, and we bat right down. And also in bowling, we have a very all-round competent side. We've got a variety with us. So that our fielding is still a little bit of a worry. But I think this particular one-day series against India has really given us a lot of boost and confidence for the World Cup.
And according to the papers anyway, this will be your last this will be your last appearance.
That's right.
World Cup.
I took a decision about a year ago, and I would really like to stick to it, because I'd prefer to leave when one is still wanted, rather than people wishing that you left and created a space for a younger player.
What do you feel are the most important field placings in limited overs cricket as opposed to test matches, the actual positions?
It starts off, a one-day match starts off almost being like a test match, because especially if I feel that there's chance of getting wickets, I would always go for wickets, and therefore I would have my best fielders in the catching position. But after the first 10 overs, and especially if the other team has got off to a good start, then the emphasis would be to have your best fielders on the boundary, people who can throw. They should be on the boundary line, and the people who can rush in and stop singles should be saving ones. And it's totally different to a test match in that respect.
In which case, what do you think of the future of test matches?
There's no reason why test cricket should at all suffer. I feel that, I mean, people who saw the last test match in India in Bangalore, I mean, it was more exciting than any one-day match I played, because the excitement wasn't spread just in the last few overs, it was spread over 4 days.
What about the 4 matches before that?
Yes, I mean, I was coming to that. I think that it's so important that one must have result-orientated wickets. We faced exactly the same problem as India did when the West Indies toured Pakistan early in the season. We could easily have done the same thing as India. We could have slowed down the wickets. We could have just made them into underprepared them and made them into slow turners like India did here, because they had a vastly superior pace attack. But in fact, what we did was we made wickets that were result orientated. In other words, the first day maybe there was a little bit of pace in it, and because it was also a winter, there was movement all the time. And then the wickets gradually started breaking up, and they helped spinners. And no matter what you did, there was a chance of a result. And people loved it. I mean, people flocked to the test matches. There was immense interest in it. Here, we played on wickets that were slow and which got slower. And I mean, a fast bowler was completely neutralized here. I mean, against West Indies, I got 18 wickets in the series, and Malcolm Marshall got 18, and Abdul Qadir got 18 wickets in 3 test matches. So that's good going for pace bowlers as well as spinners. Here, there was no chance for a start to have a catch in the slips. The ball never even carried to the slips, let alone, I mean, keeper, it was difficult to have the keeper catch the ball. And most of the time, the keeper was being hit by the ball hitting him on the 3rd bounce. Now, it's ridiculous because, okay, we neutralized our pace attack, but then at the same time, even the spinners were finding it, the edges weren't carrying to the slips. And I think that is why it's boring cricket. And I was stunned that Pakistan was labeled with with criticism that we were playing negative cricket. India was playing at our weaknesses. Our pace attack was our strength, and that was neutralized. Our batsmen were all raw, hadn't a clue how to play spin bowling when we came here. I mean, Ramiz Raja is an example. The way he played spin bowling until he came to India, he hadn't a clue. And over the matches, he gradually changed his technique. He adjusted, he worked in the nets. And India had these experienced batsmen who have been used to these wickets. So there we were. I mean, I thought we were very lucky to save all the matches. We struggled in every match. In Ahmedabad, where we scored 130 for 4, it was not through plan, I assure you. No captain wants his team to score 130 for 4 on probably when the wicket played its easiest. But in fact, we had no choice because we couldn't do much better. Our batting capability was that, without Javed especially. So, but I was stunned that we were labelled with negative crickets when we were made to play on these wickets. No one talked about negative cricket when Bangalore came along because it was a result-oriented wicket. And that is what I think the future of Test cricket depends on. If we continue to play on wickets like the first 4, Test cricket is going to suffer. But if captains are prepared to lose and they make either hard bouncy wickets with grass on it, or they then completely make a minefield like at Bangalore, either way, it has to be result orientated. But you can't ever expect test matches to be won with declaring like in a county match, you declare and then you set a target and all that. I'm afraid it doesn't happen in test cricket, and all you have to do is look at the record of test matches. Unless a team has a lead of 150 runs on first innings, they never declare. Because no one is going to, and especially on the wickets we played, no one is going to set anyone a target. And we were never in a situation to set India a target.